On September 13, 1848, Phineas Gage was working near Cavendish, Vermont, preparing rock for railway construction. He turned to speak to his crew, unaware of the danger. At that moment, the tamping iron he was using sparked against stone, igniting the powder charge beneath it. The explosion launched the iron rod upward through his skull. The tamping iron, 3 feet 7 inches long and weighing over 6 kilograms, entered below Gage's left jaw. It traveled upward behind the eye, through the left frontal lobe, and exited the top of the skull. Witnesses saw the rod fly through the air and land 80 feet away, smeared with blood and brain tissue. Gage fell backward onto the ground, limbs briefly convulsing. Within minutes he sat up, spoke clearly, and walked with little assistance. He was placed in an ox cart for the 3/4-mile journey to town, remaining conscious throughout. One observer recalled him saying, "Doctor, here's business enough for you." Physician Edward H. Williams arrived and examined Gage outside the hotel. He noticed pulsations in the brain through the open wound. Gage described how the iron had passed through his head. During vomiting, half a teacup of brain matter was expelled from the exit site. Williams doubted the account at first. John Martyn Harlow took over care around 6 in the evening. He found Gage conscious but weakening from blood loss. His body and bed were soaked in blood. Harlow cleaned the scalp, removed bone fragments and damaged brain tissue, and dressed the wounds to allow drainage. Harlow closed the wound partially, leaving it open to drain fluids. He applied wet compresses and bandaged the head. Gage's face and hands were burned from the blast, so those areas were also treated. The patient remained alert and expressed hope he wasn't seriously injured. That night, Gage was restless, legs constantly moving. He said he didn't want to see friends because he expected to return to work soon. Harlow noted his mind was clear, though exhaustion set in. The next morning, Gage recognized his mother and uncle when they arrived from New Hampshire. By the second day, Gage became delirious and lost control of his thoughts. On the fourth day, he regained awareness and knew those around him. A week later, Harlow believed recovery might be possible, but this improvement lasted only briefly. The condition soon worsened again. 12 days after the accident, Gage entered a semi-comatose state. He rarely spoke unless prompted, and then only in short words. His left eye began to bulge outward. Infected tissue grew from the brain wound and pushed through the opening at the top of his skull. On the 14th day, the smell from Gage's mouth and head became intensely foul. He remained comatose but could answer simple questions if awakened. He refused food unless urged. His attendants prepared for death, and one begged Harlow to stop treatment to end his suffering. Harlow intervened decisively. He cut away the infected tissue growing from the brain. He applied caustic silver nitrate to prevent regrowth. Then he opened the frontalized muscle from the wound down to the nose. 8 ounces of pus and blood drained out, extremely foul-smelling. The procedure marked a turning point. Within days, Gage began to regain strength. On the 24th day, he stood and took a step to a chair. 1 month later, he walked around the house and on the porch. Harlow noted his desire to return home was overwhelming. Despite improvement, Gage left without proper clothing or footwear. He traveled in the rain and caught a chill. A fever followed, but by mid-November, he was recovering again. Harlow concluded he would recover if he could be controlled. 10 weeks after the injury, Gage traveled to his parents' home in Lebanon, New Hampshire. He arrived weak and thin, behaving childishly. By late December, he was riding out and improving mentally. By February, he could work with horses and barn animals. By spring, Gage could work half days plowing fields and handled the labor well. In August, his mother reported slight memory issues, but nothing noticeable to outsiders. Physically, he appeared to be healing. The long-term effects on his mind remained uncertain. In April 1849, Gage returned to Cavendish to see Harlow. The doctor noted vision loss and drooping in the left eye. A large scar marked the forehead from abscess drainage. A section of skull bone was raised, with a deep depression beneath it. Harlow could feel brain pulsations under the depression. Partial facial paralysis remained on the left side. Gage had no headaches but described a strange sensation in his head. Otherwise, his physical health seemed good. Harlow believed recovery was complete. Later that year, Henry Jacob Bigelow brought Gage to Boston. He confirmed the iron had passed through the skull. Gage was presented to a medical society and possibly to students at Harvard Medical School. Unable to resume his railroad foreman role, Gage found new ways to earn income. He became a public exhibit at Barnum's American Museum in New York. This was not a circus, it was a city museum displaying curiosities. He may have arranged appearances in New England towns himself. Advertisements exist for such events in New Hampshire and Vermont. Harlow later said Gage appeared in most larger towns in the region. For about 18 months, Gage worked at a stable and coach service in Hanover, New Hampshire. The job involved caring for horses and driving coaches. It provided structure and routine. He lived with his family during this time. In August 1852, Gage accepted an invitation to work in Chile. He traveled to Valparaiso and became a stagecoach driver on the route to Santiago. The job required discipline, strength, and reliability. He drove heavily loaded coaches pulled by 6 horses. He cared for the animals and maintained the vehicle. The work was demanding but regular. It may have helped him regain stability. He remained in Chile for nearly 7 years. By mid-1859, his health began to decline. He suffered from hardship and exposure. His mother later wrote he had many ill turns, especially in the final year. He left Chile for San Francisco, arriving in poor condition. His mother and sister had moved there years earlier. Under their care, he began to recover. He wanted to work again. He found employment with a farmer in Santa Clara. The work was light but meaningful. In February 1860, he began having seizures. He lost the job as the episodes grew more frequent and severe. Harlow wrote that Gage continued to work in various places but could not manage much. The seizures disrupted his ability to function. By May, he was unable to work at all. On May 18, 1860, he returned to his mother's home. 2 days later, at 5 in the morning, he had a severe convulsion. The family doctor was called and performed bloodletting. Gage died late, on May 21, 1860. He was 36 years old. Harlow later located his family and had his skull exhumed to complete his medical study. Harlow had first treated Gage in 1848 and followed his case for over a decade. In 1868, he published a detailed account of Gage's life after the injury. It included reports from those who knew him in Chile. To prepare the paper, Harlow tracked Gage across North and South America. He obtained testimony from people in Chile who had known him. He even acquired Gage's skull for study. The skull showed the path of the iron rod. The damage was concentrated in the left frontal lobe. The prefrontal cortex, involved in decision-making and social behavior, was largely destroyed. Harlow noted that friends in New England said Gage was no longer himself after the accident. He became fitful, irreverent, and unreliable. The change was so stark that some refused to believe it was the same man. Before the injury, Gage was known as a shrewd, capable businessman. He was energetic and persistent. His will was iron, and his frame was strong. He had been the most efficient foreman on the project. Afterward, he struggled with impulse control. He spoke coarsely and acted unpredictably. Harlow wrote that he was no longer Gage. The case became central to debates about brain and behavior. For decades, the story was told as a permanent personality shift. But Harlow's later account suggested improvement. In Chile, Gage held a responsible job for years. He adapted to a structured routine. Witnesses in Chile described him as intelligent and capable. He managed the stagecoach route reliably. This implies a degree of social recovery. The discipline of the job may have helped restore lost functions. Harlow's 1868 paper proposed that Gage's mental changes were not fixed. The worst symptoms appeared early. Over time, with stable work, he regained some control. The frontal lobe is responsible for executive functions. These include planning, decision-making, and emotional regulation. Damage here can affect judgment and social conduct. The prefrontal cortex, part of the frontal lobe, supports goal-directed behavior. It helps suppress impulses and maintain focus. It is involved in adapting to changing situations. Gage's injury destroyed much of his left frontal lobe. This likely disrupted circuits involved in self-control and social reasoning. The immediate aftermath showed severe dysfunction. But the brain can adapt. With routine and responsibility, neural pathways may reorganize. Structure can compensate for loss. Gage's work in Chile may have provided this framework. Modern reviews suggest early accounts exaggerated Gage's changes. Some claims were based on hearsay or moral judgment. The full picture is more complex than the myth. Gage lived 12 years after the accident. He held jobs, traveled, and worked independently. He was not confined or institutionalized. His life continued, though with difficulty. The case influenced 19th century neuroscience. It challenged assumptions about the brain. It suggested that personality could be altered by physical damage. It became a cornerstone in discussions of cerebral localization. Scientists debated whether specific brain regions governed specific functions. Gage entered medical education as a key example. He appears in textbooks on neurology, psychology, and neuroscience. His name is recognized worldwide. Yet the facts are few. Details about his life before and after are limited. This allowed the case to be shaped by theory. Gage became a symbol. Harlow remained committed to accuracy. He sought evidence, not speculation. He collected testimony and preserved records. His work grounded the story in reality. He died in 1907, long after Gage. He was called one of New England's most prominent physicians. His legacy includes not just the case report, but the rigor behind it. Gage's skull and tamping iron are now held at Harvard Medical School. They remain available for study. The physical evidence endures. The brain's ability to change is now well understood. Neuroplasticity allows adaptation after injury. Recovery is not guaranteed, but possible with support. Gage's story is not just about damage. It is about survival, adaptation, and the slow return to function. It shows that identity can persist through transformation. He did not remain broken. His later years suggest improvement. The man who drove coaches in Chile was not the man described in Vermont. The hole in his head did not end his life. It changed it. But within the damage, there was resilience. Structure, routine, and purpose helped rebuild what was lost. Science once saw Gage as proof that personality was fixed by brain anatomy. Now, he is also seen as proof of flexibility. The brain can relearn even after profound injury.